there's so much in books and so much written down that sounds so much better when it's spoken. And so I was
Mhm.
like, why not?
Hey everyone, it's Ashley. Welcome to Books Are My Third Place, your literary lifestyle haven. I am so excited for this week's interview. I cannot wait for you all to see it. So let's get started. And as always, happy reading.
We've got a special treat here this week. I've got Taythelostbard here with me, and we are going to be talking all things voice, book boyfriends, and the man behind them. So, Tay, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Tell me your origin story. Like, how did Taythelostbard come to be? I'm imagining like little Tay running around with a guitar and a microphone. Like, tell me that story.
Yeah, you're not far off. As a child, I was quite sheltered. My mother was actually police, and my father was a bodybuilder. And so things were very strict. And one thing that I could always go to was music. I picked up a guitar at the age of 9, maybe 10, and never put it down. I think a lot of the strictness that actually lended itself to my creativity. I didn't have many outlets. I didn't hang out with friends very often. And so I wrote songs and watched fantasy movies, Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean, and emulated those characters. I always wanted to sound like Jack Sparrow. And I got myself into a band when I was about 19 or 20, and stayed in that band for the better part of a decade. Played metal, and I was the lead guitar. I found myself letting that get to me a bit much, and then I had my daughter and quit. I jumped into just playing music for them, for my kids and my family, and reading to them. Reading to them is a big part of what we do. I like to tell them bedtime stories. And when I was a kid, I was doing accents and voices and stuff forever. And everyone always told me, oh, you should do cartoons when you're older. And I guess I am now. So that's good.
Wait, so what are you currently reading to your children?
It's usually by request. They have a library of books in the playroom, and they just choose one and I'll read it. If it's Pinkalicious, it's Pinkalicious. If it's Peppa Pig or whatever, I'll read it.
And then what made you start posting on TikTok?
Well, I started posting only music. It never really caught on. And then I really got into Dungeons and Dragons
Okay.
and listening to the Critical Role podcast, which is literally all voice actors playing
Oh,
Dungeons
how
and
cool.
Dragons together. And it's great. And so I kind of dove into a character, and I broke out the acoustic guitar, started writing kind of folky, fantasy inspired music, and it just kind of developed from there. And I figured there's so much in books and so much written down that sounds so much better when it's spoken. And so I was
Mhm.
like, why not? People have been telling me to do this for years. I should try it. And I tried it and it took off. So
What's the current day job? Like, is it at all related?
not at all. No.
Okay.
My day job is I'm an electrician, actually, and I work at a engineering firm, and I build control panels for factories and stuff. It's not very interesting.
What's kind of the way that you begin to embody a character, like from page to voice? Like, how do you decide how to
I'd
make
call it a short form of method acting.
Okay.
You hear about all these actors, Heath Ledger being one
Mhm.
of the most notable. He spent months getting into his character, and he went a bit too far. But you hear about all these actors that do the same thing. They go out in public as their character. And I do that for 10 minutes before I
Mhm.
try. A lot of the stuff that's requested I haven't read. I
Sure.
haven't read Akatar, and so a lot of it is creating context for myself. I'll read a quote, whether it be Risen, however you say his name,
Yeah.
and I'll try to create a story behind it, something that I could relate to,
Mhm.
essentially. And then I would put those emotions into me saying the quote. And so in a way, it may not resonate as that character as much as it is just me. Good example of that is the one I did of I fell in love with you, smartass. That one.
Mhm.
I had no idea the context behind it, but I read it and it struck me as a tender moment and a quiet between two lovers moment. And
Mhm.
I ran with that, and I put the emotion that I would put behind those words, essentially. And people seem to like it.
Yeah, definitely people seem to like it. You came across my For You page when you didn't have very many followers.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Booktok is going to go crazy.
Oh yeah, they have.
And then they did. So I feel very happy to have been early. But
Definitely appreciated.
I think the question that is always in everyone's minds is how many accents can you do? Is there a limit?
There's definitely a limit. I'd say most English speaking accents I can do.
Okay.
I tend to stay away from the non-English speaking accents because there's a sense of sensitivity that comes along with those, whether it's a Spanish speaking or even French speaking accent, they can be taken too far into a stereotype. I tend to stay away from those because I don't speak those languages, essentially.
Sure.
But yeah, anything from Scottish, Irish, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the south parts of America, and even Canadian. I can do a Canadian accent.
Does your family ever get tired of you doing the accents?
No, my coworkers do that.
Okay.
Yes. They always tell me to shut up or they make fun of me. It's great.
You're gonna have the last laugh. I have a feeling on that one.
I told them that I'm doing voice acting and they're like, oh, you're being a voice actress, huh? I'm like,
do they know about your TikTok? Like, have you told them? Or, no?
I've told them about it, but I will not let them see it. And
okay.
I never want them to find it because I will receive unending shit from it.
It's so funny because I feel like a lot of us as TikTok creators, we definitely have that feeling of like, I can make a complete fool of myself to millions of strangers on the internet. That's fine. But if it's somebody I know, I'm like, you did not see that. Like, keep scrolling.
Please just ignore it.
So how did you initially find Booktok or even think to start doing some of these quotes?
They found me.
Okay.
I think it was the Mr. Darcy quote that I did first. That one blew up pretty quickly. And then I received the request for, how do you say his name? Resend.
Resend. And then it's Reese is the short name.
That's what I thought because, there's the actor Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and I was kind of thinking it sounded like that. But
yes, exactly.
Anyways, I got the request to do Resend's quote and it just, they all found me then. I had no idea what I was saying. And it took off.
Who is the most requested character that you get?
It's all over the place, really. Early on, it was Resend, and then Castile and Cassian and Azriel are basically
the whole cast of characters, yes.
And then I posted a Loki video and people asked for a lot more Loki. I really enjoy doing Loki. So
we'll have more Marvel to look forward to then. Yeah. Okay. And then I feel like you've also quoted a lot of poetry. So do you have a favorite poet? Are there any that particularly inspire you?
Well, once it took off, the TikTok, everything, I started reading more poetry. In my research for TikToks, I fell in love with Pablo Neruda. It's all translated and it's beautiful. He has just incredible imagery, painting pictures with his words. Other than him, I'd say Robert Frost and, of course, Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, who doesn't love him? One that's technically not a poet is actually Joey Beatty, and he played Jaskier on The Witcher, the show.
Okay.
he has a band, and their music is technically poetry. It was one of the first videos I think I did. It was Farewell Wanderlust. That was one of his songs, essentially, and it's absolute poetry. And so I would call him a poet, but he's a musician and an actor. But yeah, those are a few of my favorites.
Would you consider yourself a big reader? Like, I know you mentioned fantasy. Like, as a child, do you feel like you're going to become a big reader now because of this?
Yes. Right now, I'm not. I mean, I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, so
Okay.
they take up most of my time. But as the girls get older, sure, I will jump back into reading. When I was single and without children, I was reading all the time. And, you know, it was an escape, you know.
Mm.
A lot of people use it that way, you know, they experience pain or drama or stress in their life, and they read to get away from it. And that's exactly what I did. So I actually started, I feel hypocritical for saying it, but I started listening to the first audiobook I have in months today. And so
Okay, well now you have to tell us what it is.
oh, it's Star Wars.
I love that. Okay.
Yes, it's the origin story of Darth Bane, who's just a legend and, you know, not even canon in the Star Wars universe, but it's a great listen so far.
So obviously we know from your videos that you have some beautiful ink. So I have to ask some tattoo questions. So any book related tattoos?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about those.
My favorite book of all time is Moby Dick.
Okay.
And so I have actually, that might be hard to see, but I actually have Moby Dick on my thumb.
Oh my gosh.
My half sleeve was inspired by Moby Dick. There's a character in it called Queequeg, and he's a cannibal, essentially. And in the book, he's described to have small black squares tattooed all over his body from head to toe. And so I grabbed a piece of graph paper and drew this up and put it on my arm. Other than that, I have a Witcher tattoo.
Moby Dick that's like one of my earliest memories of movies that I saw when I was a kid, like the super old one. I just remember Ahab getting like strapped to the web.
Oh yeah. Oh, actually, one of the biggest tattoos I have is on my chest, and it's the silhouette of an albatross.
Okay.
It seems very weird to most people, but within Moby Dick, there is reference to the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which was the seafaring poet, you know, back in the day. And the legend was that when you're sailing, if an albatross flies with you, you have good luck. If you do anything to hamper the albatross's flight or shoot it down, or if it comes aboard and you kill it for food or anything like that, you are basically dooming yourself. And so I literally got it around my neck, and not technically around my neck, but around the area. But yeah, I guess that's a book inspired tattoo as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love all of those. It was over a year ago. I asked people it was when everybody was doing the like stitch this and tell me whatever, you know, XYZ. And I asked people to stitch and share their bookish tattoos. And it was so cool though to see, because I felt so inspired, because I have several that are not visible, but it was, and they're all book related, but it was one of those things where I felt like, God, there's so many people, especially a lot of authors that were sharing, and it wasn't necessarily their book, but the book that inspired them to write. And I kind of always have a rule. They have to have at least, if I'm going to get one, it has to have at least multiple meanings for me, just so I don't get sick of it.
Yeah.
Enjoying this interview? Make sure you subscribe.
I think we kind of touched on it, but what was your first viral video?
Well, the Mr. Darcy one took off.
Okay.
But then the one I followed that with was Reason's Darkness quote. And that one surpassed it. Yeah, the first one would have been Mr. Darcy, I'd say.
Okay. And then what was the moment where you were just like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, what's happening? So I asked BookTokers to share or ask some quotes or questions. And so somebody did ask kind of a similar question of like your initial thoughts or reactions when readers came to you with like all of their quote requests as well.
I became accustomed to taking requests as a musician. And so getting requests wasn't anything new technically, but the amount was quite new. I think the moment I realized something was happening was when I woke up the next morning and I saw in my notifications 99 plus. I was like, this has never happened before, and I don't know how to handle it. And I kept it in at work the whole day. I didn't tell anyone. It was exciting. Every time I'd look at my phone, I'd see something new, whether it was a comment or, even a duet or something. But I think that was also a big thing too. Before, I had maybe 2 of my videos duetted at all. And so to see so many people using my video or using my audio even for their own artwork or their own cosplay or whatever it may be, that was when I started thinking, hey, I might be onto something, and people are feeling this, and it's resonating with them to an extent that they want to make their own art with it. And I was very honored. And then people were posting reaction videos to what I did, which was wild. Definitely not used to that.
Yeah. Well, and then you added on top of it, I remember the Kelsey Woods music, which Booktok is also very obsessed with.
Oh, yes.
And she's so talented and incredible. How did you discover her music?
Somebody actually mentioned her in a comment and was like, it would be mind-blowing if you used her music along with this or something like that.
Right.
And it was. I went and listened to her music and I was like, this is beyond anything that I could come up with ever. And I even told Kelsey myself that it's insane to see the reaction people have with her music paired with the story itself. She's brought the emotion side of the story to life. That's something us musicians always hope to do. We want to play on emotions. We want to make people feel things. When I was writing music, I wanted to make people cry. And she's done it. I mean, if they don't choose her for the Hulu show,
oh my gosh, yeah,
it's just beyond beautiful what she's done.
Yeah. So Hulu, if you ever happen to see this video, please hire them. No. I remember the first time I saw hers, it did make me cry. Because I think these stories, like as you said, I think words and music, and when you piece them together, they do bring out that emotion in people and those feelings. And it's just kind of that overwhelming, overpowering feeling that you can't let go of. And I think anybody that can create something like that, whether that's yourself or somebody like Kelsey, I think it doesn't come around very often. So when it does, I think people just get so excited and want to latch on to that.
Exactly. I think another example of that from my point of view is the We Love Rainy Days video. The song I used for that was actually another TikToker called Mac Lauren. And she did a cover of Damien Rice's Delicate. And that song has stuck with me since high school. It was a song I cried to. It was a song, I was angry to. It was a song that calmed me down. It was a song that stuck with me for, almost a very long time now. And so hearing her cover of it, it was completely different. And I never thought anyone could do that song justice other than actual Damien Rice himself. But she did. And I told her as well, it gave me goosebumps. It was like I was hearing the song for the first time, and so it resonated with my own story, and so I totally understand that. It's like watching Lord of the Rings and listening to the score later. It brings you back to those moments. It brings you back to those battles, whatever it may be. And there's a strong connection between music and literature. And I don't think one can really exist without the other.
Yeah, I think there's those few either songs or movies, like even, I don't know, Lord of the Rings has always been very special for me. It's my favorite of all time. And I used to have, and I still do, I'll put on like the cast commentary of the extended versions and just have those on as background while I'm like writing or doing anything. It's just like, it's my background music.
You find out so many cool little facts
Yeah.
about the movies as well. Like
Yeah.
when
Yeah. So
Bill
many.
broke his toe, you know, all that.
Of course, that one.
I
That's
could go on and on.
that's the one. So I have another question from another book talker, Air of Books and Roses. Great name. She gives you a very nice compliment. She says the tone in his voice is beautiful and relaxing. What book or movie would he like to narrate? And what is an ideal relaxing moment for you?
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Oh, man, book-wise, I mean, anything Star Wars would be amazing.
Okay.
I'm a huge nerd when it comes to that. Other than that, I'd say Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
I love the book. I love the movie. It's the epitome of a slow burn, you know, and it's just very well written and just magical, even without actual magic. I would love to voice act in, or even just act in like a pirate movie. I think it would be great. I was thinking about it the other day, if they ever made a movie of the book. What was it? It's the Captain Hook story from his point of view.
Oh,
A Lost Boy or something like that. But if they ever made a movie or a show about that, I would be there auditioning to play Captain Hook in a second. I have lots of favorite villains, but he's been one of my favorites from childhood. So.
For a long time.
Yes.
Well, you know, maybe Johnny will make another one now. We never know.
I hear he is.
So
I hear they bring him back.
your dream there could come true.
Maybe.
The other thing I wanted to ask, this is sort of tangentially related, is what are your favorite kinds of characters to bring to life? Like, do you prefer villains? What's the ideal character?
I do like voicing villains, but not the typical villain that you think of. I don't like to be the loud, boisterous, you know, powerful villain. I like to be the quiet ones that actually have all the power, whether it be political or just mental or even physical without showing it. I'd say my favorites are the morally gray characters, you know, the mysterious, seductive, roguish types. You know, they both do good things, they both do very bad things, and they don't really feel much remorse for the bad things, but they love, you know. And when it comes to a villain that loves, I believe that's when they become less of a villain. But yes, I like morally gray anti-hero types. I think my voice lends itself to that as well. I sound a bit sneaky, I'd say. I'm actually voicing something that may be a bit of a challenge for me in an audiobook coming up. It's a book called Ruination by J.N. Baker. And I'm playing an angel.
Okay.
I'm playing an asshole virgin angel. You know, I'm just going to be growly the whole time.
Yeah.
May be a bit out of my wheelhouse. It'll be a challenge.
It's good to challenge yourself, though.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like that with the morally gray, which is obviously very, very popular on Booktok as well. I think there's that trope that's like the I hate everyone but you. And that definitely embodies like that type of character.
The enemy to lover type of thing, which I believe that's what Ruination becomes.
Okay. If you were to put it in a sentence, how the book community has impacted your life so far?
They've given me a bigger head. No, they've been very accepting. That's kind of the risk you take going on TikTok, you know. Essentially posting videos of yourself, you're being vulnerable. Even if you're playing a character, you're being vulnerable and you're putting yourself out there, whether it even just be your face, you know. You can receive hate for just about anything, and I half expected that. It's been positive, you know. They've been welcoming and accepting, and the ones that I've connected with personally have been so creative, you know, and they want to collaborate and they want to, you know, just see what we can create together, or even they can suggest or whatever it may be. They're so positive, and I very much appreciate them. You know, they've come alongside me and just made it a dream.
I've been so inspired by how creative the community really is. And I think especially because just the accessibility to create now, I think it's so much easier to for people to write and publish things themselves and have ownership over what they're creating and not have to necessarily rely on going through the traditional route of querying and, is a big five going to pick me up? And we've seen that with all of these different books that have gone viral and become super popular that are all by independent, like indie authors. And that's really cool to see you collaborating with them and seeing like, what are you guys going to create?
Definitely. Yeah. I have 3 authors that I'm working with right now that you can expect content from.
Ooh, okay. Do we get any teasers?
I can tell you the names.
Okay.
Maybe a brief premise. Ruination, as I've said, will be probably the first one that I'm starting out of the 3. It's a duet. And so I'm teaming up with an incredible voice actress, Ashley. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I feel like Booktok is just going to eat it up.
Yeah.
The second is called Tattoo Kiss. And I play the male lead. I play a Scottish musician who suffers a tragedy and wakes up in the hospital. And in the same hospital, a woman wakes up from a coma and they find each other somehow. And it's a story of healing and difficulties and working through pain in your mind and all of that. So that one's going to be a heartbreaker. The last of the 3, which should be starting within a month or so, is called Rise of the Dawnbringer. It's a fantasy romance. I'm not quite sure if it's age gap or not.
Are you having to learn all the tropes now?
Yeah, I have to. But I play the male lead in that. His name is Sifrin, and he's also a growly asshole. I seem to be typecast.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Yes. I'd say all 3 characters are basically growly assholes, which I'm not in my daily life, but I guess I can voice them fairly well. I'm excited for all 3. It's been a whirlwind so far, but it's been fun and it's been a learning experience.
As a creator, or as a person wanting to break into voice acting as well, we could do both. What would be 1 or 2 tips that you would give people like just starting out?
Well, for TikTok, do it for fun. Don't expect anything. If you have a talent, utilize it. And if it catches on, it catches on. Keep your expectations low with social media.
Yeah.
It took me, I think I was on TikTok for about 1.5 to 2 years before anything actually happened. I sat at about 300 followers for that amount of time and then it exploded. But anyways, for TikTok, it's so 50-50. Something doesn't catch on, like my initial music didn't catch on. Try something new. Try something that really resonates with you. If you're a crafter, if you're a writer, do what you're the best at and follow it through. For people trying to get into voice acting or narration, audition your ass off, and put yourself out there as much as you can. Sign up for ACX. It's free. And it's free marketing. That's the most basic thing you can do. When it comes to your actual voice, find your voice. It doesn't have to be the one you speak in daily. It doesn't have to be one that is your natural voice, really. It's just the one you're most comfortable with. The one you fall into when you're joking or, anything like that. And stick with it. Develop that one voice and it'll become almost a trademark. And that's also why I've kept my natural accent a secret.
Are you still keeping it a secret right now?
Oh, yes. Or am I?
Okay. I don't know. I can't tell.
I've convinced people I'm Australian. I've convinced people I'm Scottish. I live in California. And so I worked at Starbucks when I was younger. And we had a drive-through. And I had a lot of fun with that because I would choose a new accent each customer and they'd buy it.
When I was growing up, my mom and I used to do accents all the time, like just for fun. And I always felt like a crazy person because I feel like, no one does this except for my family.
You feel like you have so many different voices in your head.
Yeah.
But just different accents.
So for those who are still working drive-through jobs, it's great practice then.
Oh yes,
Sounds like.
do it. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
You'll probably only see those people once, maybe twice. Don't do it to regular customers, but unless they're down with it,
Or you just have to remember which accent you used with them and just
Exactly.
always use that.
Yes.
Do you have anything you wished you would have known before, I guess, any of this happened?
I wish I had a library of recordings that I could just post. It's tough keeping up with it, and
Yeah.
having a family and a day job and all the stresses of life, it's demanding. And sometimes I'll try to sit here and record for an hour if I have the house to myself, as I do right now, and get absolutely nothing, because I'm not happy with it, or
Right.
it just doesn't feel right. At the same time, I do like having it done that day. Most, if not all, my TikToks are posted right after I record them.
Okay.
I don't really have many drafts. It's on demand and it's instant. And so the minute you guys see a new video is the minute it was recorded, or however long it takes for it to upload.
It is overwhelming. I do think, especially if you're posting every single day, like I think at one point I was posting twice a day for almost a year. Creatively too, it's like you always want to be putting out the best content. And it's like, is that going to be at that volume?
Yeah.
Like not everything's going to be amazing.
Yeah, you don't want your channel
So
to
it's that balance of,
mid.
Yeah.
My algorithm has been treating me that way for the past week or so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We could definitely get into the algorithm talk. I do feel like that is a hot topic that I think it's a forever unknown.
I got lucky that people that had large followings saw my stuff and liked it, and they shared it. And so I owe whatever popularity I have on TikTok to those people, you included. You saw my stuff, you liked it, and you kept following.
Well, you're building a community. I think that's the biggest thing. Like people are gonna follow, and I think people forget that sometimes. It's like it's not just you speaking out into the void. Like you're speaking to actual people, and you're resonating with a lot of people because of the content that you're doing, that people have a emotional attachment to.
Exactly.
You're going to continue to build a community that's going to engage. And I think a lot of people forget about that part of it.
I mean, I started out trying to get on Metal Talk, and then I was trying to get on D&D Talk, and I wasn't cosplaying. So the D&D Talk didn't take off. Found Booktok, they found me, and I found my people. But
wait, can we expect some cosplay from you, or you're like, no?
I would love to, but I'm not crafty.
I feel like we could make this happen. So if any cosplayers happen to be watching this.
It's also difficult because I am larger than most costumes you can buy. I'm 6'8". So
oh my gosh.
So finding costumes that are ready-made that fit is difficult. I would love to cosplay. I would love to do it. I go to Disneyland and I see all the characters. I'll be like, I would be much better low-key than you are. Or, I could be the Winter Soldier or something like that. Actually, my fiance and I, we are going to Massachusetts for our honeymoon, but on the way back, we're hitting Disneyland because it's probably going to be our last time to be there by ourselves without the kids.
Right.
And we're going to be there around Halloween time. And I asked
her, be so fun.
We're dressing up, right? And she's like, you can't. I'm like, you can kind of dress up.
You can kind of dress up. Subtle.
So my plan is to be President Loki while going to Disneyland.
Wait, and what is she? Did she pick an outfit yet?
She's going to get the Maleficent horns. She'll probably do something along those lines.
That's going to be so good.
I've slowly been breaking my fiance into the deeply nerdy side of me.
Is she discovering this for the first time?
She watched Star Wars with me. She's built Legos with me. She bought me Dungeons and Dragons stuff for my birthday this past week, and I'm slowly getting there. And so breaking her into the fact that I want to dress up as characters might be a bit much as of now, but I mean, once we're married, she can't say no. So
It's for life, man. Okay, so I might know the answer to this one based on our conversation today. But
right.
if you could go to any fictional land or universe, where would you go?
That's really difficult, actually.
Yeah.
It might be a bit obscure. There's a book series. The first one's called The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Yeah.
I love the world building he did in that series. The magic concepts that he created, and even the academics that he created just for those books was unbelievable. I guess it's not very fantasy, but pirates of the Caribbean,
Okay.
something like that. Otherwise, Asgard.
Okay.
Definitely
Great
Asgard.
choice. Great choice. I was expecting a Star Wars planet, to be honest.
Yeah. None of them seem very hospitable.
That's true. Do you
Jedi
think?
powers?
Well, this is a good follow-up. So, The Name of the Wind. Obviously, we're waiting for book 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're ever going to get it?
Yes, I think we are, because he released that the shorter book,
right? A novella, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, there's been rumors he's working on the third one, and unless he just has lost inspiration and motivation, I think it would be a tragedy not to get book 3.
I feel this way about that, and also the last 2 books in Game of Thrones, which I'm less hopeful for. I don't know.
Full confession. I have the entire series.
I was like, have you not read them?
I have the entire series, and I've read half of the first one.
Oh no.
And I didn't even finish the show.
Well, that's okay, because I feel like the show, none of us were very happy about the end. Yeah. But yeah, the books are so good. They're hefty, like they're very hefty. Yes. So yeah.
Maybe I'll listen to them.
That's not a bad idea. I don't know who narrates them, but
I work 8 to 12 hours a day. So I have my headphones in all day. I can listen to them easily. I think that's probably a good idea. After Star Wars, of course. Okay, so
that's my challenge for you then.
All right.
You got to read those.
Deal.
They're so good. Okay. Then we'll do a part 2. Okay, so these are kind of rapid reveal things. Favorite place to read?
Favorite place to read? Of all time or consistent?
Maybe consistent. Let's do consistent.
Because my favorite place that I've read of all time is quite something. But,
okay. Well, you can answer that too.
It was a trip my fiance and I took last year to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed in this place called Bolt Farms Treehouse, and it's beautiful. It's a treehouse that looks over a valley, and there was a hammock chair out on the deck looking over this entire expanse, and I just sat there and read for hours, and it was just beautiful. You could hear the cicadas going in the trees, and the rain started moving in, so I just watched the clouds, and it was just magic beyond something I'd felt before. But otherwise, my favorite place to read consistently would be my backyard. Mm-hmm. It's a small city backyard, but it's my place.
You didn't think I'd talk to Tay and not have him do some quotes for us, right? Enjoy.
I'll mute myself so that we can let the master speak.
Oh gosh. Let's see. First one is Rowan from Empire of Storms. Now, unmute yourself for a second.
Okay.
Should I do this in my voice, or should I do it in accent?
Oh, well, I think everybody would love accents, right? So I think those are the context for all of them.
All right.
Take it away.
So, Rowan from Empire of Storms. Even when this world is a forgotten whisper of dust between the stars, I will always love you. Let's see, the Darkling, Shadow and Bone. Gotta channel my inner villain. Fine. Make me your villain. And then angry. It's so hard to be angry when I'm blushing. You are my goddamned damnation. But there will never be anyone but you. And there we are. Quotes.
Oh my gosh. I think everyone's going to love that so much.
Perfect.
I can't wait for them to hear this.
I hope so. The first one from Rowan, I don't know, but it's striking me as like an Alabama kind of accent. I might do 2 for you.
You could do 2 for me. I think people would die.
Rowan from Empire of Storms. I'll do it Southern fast. Even when this world is a forgotten whisper of dust between the stars, I will always love you.